Start recording. Hello, welcome. It's a great way to start my recorded section. Clearing my nose a little. Today, the plan is to do some sort of animation. Don't know what the animation's gonna be, but I figured I'd start sketching and maybe try to break away a little bit from the alphabet loop looking things that I've been doing in recent time, where all of those are focused on this little face guy contorting in different ways. Something I have not done as much animation wise in a while is a more rigid sort of face, having this more angular guy. I've been doing a lot of these in the grid sort of format. Yesterday's stream was taking an animation I had done that was from one of those more rigid formats, coming off of some straight up grid guys that I had done. What I might do is, in the sort of theme of that pathway coming around, I might try to have something like a 3x3 grid and have faces in each of these grids, do a quick sort of illustrative looking guy, have these actually slightly removed, so I have blocks in each of these. I could even animate this abstract and then add faces into it, but have something where over the period of, let's say, 15 frames, that's a lot of work. I can do it. Let's aim for 12 frames. Have 12 frames and have, like, this guy moves to some other spot, this one moves to another spot, this one moves to another spot, this one moves to another spot, this one moves to this spot, and just have all of these actions happening simultaneously. So ultimately you only have that 12 frame animation, but you can focus and have it settle in different ways, and also it'll get me into a square format, which I haven't been working with in a while. So I think that might be what I work on today. So let's see if it's 3x3. I have to limit it to slightly less than 2 inches if I'm using these preformed guys. I've got a grid right here. Let me just look at. The other option is to just do it 2x2 on each of these, or do an exaggerated one where it's not even that way. But let's say we have a, just for the ease of this, 4x4. Let's just help me square things up a little bit better if I do it against this grid, because I can measure it out, but my cuts on this paper aren't exactly squared up. Let's grab this guy, and I'm going to just initially mark these out, these corners, because it's I should shift this up a little. I have a little less consistency safety wise on the bottom edge of these than I do on the top edge, so if I even it out but weigh it towards the top, then I'll have a more successful overall experience. So let's line this up on that 1/4 inch and just mark out these corners for my own sake. We're doing those corners. 3x3 fits, but I'd rather have just a little bit more space. So if I have a 4x4, I can do 4 divided by 3, which is not a fun fraction to do, but it's 1 1/3. Yeah, I might revisit this. Maybe I do 1 1/4 times 3, and then I end up with 3 3/4. Yeah. So I'm going to actually just go ahead and draw out this square and then use it to square up the measurements behind it. I could also work in centimeters, but I just don't conceptually have the same ease of working in centimeters because I grew up in the United States, where don't do that. I've been thinking about the fact that having a measurement system that's based on tens doesn't... It's not something I came up with. I've heard about people exploring the fact that 10 isn't a smart thing to divide by. It's smarter to divide by 12, to have a 12-base system, because you can divide it far more easily into more numbers than just 5, 2, 10, 1. But 12 you can do 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have a lot more options. But 10 base whatever thing is the fact that you have 10 fingers, and that's really what it is. And the idea that you would still have 10 as like the understood, like it ends in 0, but as a value of 12. And it messes with your mind because it's such an innate understanding of how things are counted and work, but it's not arbitrary, but it's not a fixed thing that like you understand 12 is like a weird in-between number between your markers of 10. So you can work potentially in something that has a different base, and it would be like you recognize the 0, so like 12 times 12 would be something that ended in that understood marker sort of deal. But anyway, let's divide this into 3 evenly separated pieces, which if it's 3 1/4, I have to move 1/8 off of either side, which means that this is my new marker here. We're going to go off of this edge so that I don't mess up based on these other measurements. Can go ahead and mark this down. Alright, I'm gonna, while I'm doing that, mark out the middle portions as well. So that's 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 1 1/4, 2 1/2. Let's draw these lines down. These ultimately are just reference points. And then I get to draw a small grid inside of here. Small selection of 9 faces. And I'm working similarly to what I did yesterday. I don't think that, other than Zolak and Eve, I don't think anyone was here yesterday, but if you watch on Instagram or TikTok or somewhere else, you can see, or YouTube. I've got too many sources of people potentially coming in and saying howdy. 8th, 8th. Did I do 1 1/2? I believe I did 1 1/4. Yeah, okay. Measured that correctly. Gives me just a little bit more wiggle room than if I had done a 1x1 grid. So next move is to draw out. First I'm just going to do some squares in the middle. Or maybe I'll give them some direction or personality to them. How's the volume on stuff? I can also turn down the tape a little bit more. Thanks for watching me literally count. Animation's a slow process and I make it slower by doing it on paper. But it's a different sort of satisfaction to it. Yeah, I'm gonna make it so some of these are different expressive bits. Slightly different. I should probably order new brushes. Or just actually clean these instead of letting them dry and shoving them around a bit. Cool. So the concept moving forward, I'll do it a little bit tighter, is taking each of these and over whatever frame I'll have to figure out. It's going to be that like some of them go over, some of them go under, but that they overlap and animate into one another is the plan, or the concept. We'll see how it actually comes to fruition, or doesn't. What happens when it's actually coming about. so this is my reference frame. And now, oh, it's got some markings on it. The plan is to have an animation where I'm going to do it in sections of like maybe 2 at a time, just so, I don't know, maybe I'll go in order, but like have this guy go here and make that take place over 12 frames, or maybe it'll be less than that. I'll see how it feels in a moment. So now I need to just do my first frame, just a straight up tracing of this guy. Okay, I need to rearrange this a little. Okay, looks alright. I think what I might do is just this guy extend a bit initially, and as it's starting into this, this guy stays here as a starting point. Actually, I'm going to keep the same motion, but I'm going to put lotion on my hands because they were a bit dry, which means that I had a little bit of a weird feeling happening there. I need to reapproach what that is, but I still want to use that direction. I think I just need to sort of reverse. And instead of having it start, instead I have it go on the other side. Maybe should add a GIF response to that earlier email, and didn't know if that GIF response was positive or negative. It was positive, so I'm good. Can't hear over the music? Okay. That wasn't necessary dialogue that you guys were hearing. I just was explaining what was going on to the side there. I just was responding to an email, or making sure that an email was a positive response, because the email that I received was just an animated GIF response. This is number 4. Sorry about audio things. I'm still resolving some bits here and there. Most of the time I'm not talking all that much. Or if I am, I'm a little bit more engaged or quiet. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'm still getting used to this format where I incorporate in a bit more music and such. Oh, 5. Oh, 6. I don't have any plans on printmaking in the immediate future, just because I need to settle into a space that might be better suited for it. And it takes a little bit more of a physical dedicated space than what I have here right now, but I can. I also don't have my supplies here. My supplies are at a different location. But it's not something that I'm against doing. I just don't have the means right this moment. Oh, 7. Maybe I'll aim for 10 frames, I don't know. I'm glad that you got to doing some printmaking. Something I realized that I have a bit more of a traffic on YouTube with the few printmaking things that I have there. They're more audible and a little bit easier to create, like a simple process video that explains what's happening. Maybe I'll do something even just with like potatoes or something. That's frame number 8. But if you have any questions about printmaking, I can answer. Or I can at least try to answer. What printmaking were you trying out? Were you trying linoleum, lino cut stuff? That's usually a little bit more accessible than like screen printing. Screen printing usually, for what people want to do, takes a bit more upstart stuff. Woodcut. I haven't done a woodcut in a long time. That's cool. The only sort of woodcut attempts I did, I think, were in high school. And I don't know that I had the best wood for it. If you enjoyed woodcutting, you might like how it's a bit easier to do lino cut a lot of the time, because linoleum doesn't have a grain direction. Huh. Well, lino cut, you can get them pretty cheap. Wood blocks are more durable than lino cuts, especially if you're using soft linoleum. But linoleum's pretty cheap. You can probably find more of just like found wood object, but if you get like soft lino or something, you can make stuff pretty easy. And that's what I was using for the videos I had. Also, the tools tend to be a little bit cheaper. It is satisfying. You have to learn, like you do with woodcut probably as well, you have to learn how to best hold and move your tools. Because different materials behave differently. So now we're done with one of these guys. So now I've moved this guy to here over the time period of 10 frames, so slightly less than about 2/3 of a second. Also, my tape's about to pop. That sounds weird to phrase it that way. My tape, the one side's about to be done, so it's been about 45 minutes. So let's now start with this guy. So now I get to decide where I want this person to, this figure, this face to go. And I think I might want to have them jolt over here. Which means that I have to, I think what I'll do is have this nose sort of, I've seen some people do some laser cutting on wood. It works okay. From what I've seen. You have to have a pretty strong laser to cut into wood. I also know some people use it cutting into stamp material, into rubber, to use with like just a standard little stamp guy. Ink pad or what have you. And there's the tape. That little tape that's running up there, it's actually running. That's where the music's coming from. Alright, I got an email about contour drone. But if you do have success with your laser cut, that'd be cool. I haven't done any laser cut stuff where I actually ran it. I did do a piece where there were some folks who helped me, and I designed something as a vector drawing, and then they cut it apart using a laser cutter. When you're laser cutting into wood, for stamp, you just have to be careful of like the depth that you're reaching with it, that it's enough to separate it out, and also that you know, the grain direction, because if you're cutting into plywood, that's like these sheets, and you have some design where pressure is put on the grain in a weird way, you can have some sections that sort of are a bit brittle or fall off, that sort of deal. Just stuff to consider, but since I've never done it, you know as much as I do about it. Whenever anyone presents me with any sort of like, here's an idea, I'm like, here's all the stuff that I foresee possibly happening with it. And it's not the most fun, but it is how I sort of think and function. It might. It depends on how it's cut into the laser, or cut by the laser. It's all stuff that you can test with, and maybe if you have access to those tools, which I don't really have right now, you might find that it's a new and completely different usage of process in the trials and stuff. I'm also not the expert. This is just me thinking, sort of to myself, but since I'm streaming, I get to say it out loud. There's probably a bunch of folks online who have experimented with what you're looking at, and can give you much more informed advice than what I'm just speculating on as far as using a laser cutter as a printmaking tool. Now let's start again. Animation as a medium is repetitious, to say the least. I think I might have this guy go down and move from here to here. And it's kind of trapped in here. Maybe it's best just to move it in that direction. I'm gonna have it jump all the way down. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Or no, I think it should be big movement, small movement, so it's not. Okay. That's the decision. Basics of animation. I never actually took a basics of animation course. I took a history of animation. Not history of film, but there was discussion of animation because animation is essentially what film is, and there's a different sort of early film, early animation were pretty tied hand in hand as far as older animation tools, things like that. Zoetropes and things, breaking apart images, motion, odds and ends. But the professor made the point that's interesting. Historically, animation would have been inspired and changed what film and movement and that sort of thing was understood to be. But it also, nowadays, is meant to be sort of seamlessly incorporated into live action work. There was a long period where it would have been completely separated, but now special effects that make up such a large portion of major blockbuster movies and just visuals and such are a form of animation, and it's something that I don't always think about, that it is just animation finding a home in a different placement. I'm glad I decided to make this fewer than 15 frames. It's the sort of thing that work adds up a lot with animation. The difference between 10 frames and 15 frames is a third of the work, or no, it's 50% more work. To animate 15 frames as opposed to 10. If you're getting into frame rates and those sorts of things, that's why most animation is done on the 2s, meaning it's like around 12 frames per second. I've got, how do I decide what to draw on each frame to get the movement and transformation smooth? I've just gotten used to it over time. It's trial and error sort of things, seeing different techniques. Something that is very helpful to me is looking at animations that I like the motion of and looking at it frame by frame to see what techniques or what movements, what changes are happening. This one's a little bit more experimental, so I'm not 100% sure on this one how different actions will go, but it's also helpful to look at like just film or video that you like the movement of to see what actually is happening on those frames, because a lot of the time what you think is happening isn't exactly what's happening. There's a discrepancy there. And if you take the time to actually look at the play-by-play, the frame-by-frame, fraction of a second that's taking place, then you'll start to have a better understanding of how to recreate elements of those movements, those motions. It's not the most immediately engaging thing for a lot of people, and depending on where you're at in your exploration regarding animation, it might feel less appealing, which is totally understandable. But using tools, which is just seeing what other people have done, is a very useful thing in my experience. And it's okay to try and replicate it so long as you understand and reference and can communicate to other people. Don't take credit for those things. It's a learning process. You should learn from people who've done it before. It shouldn't be this thing that you're just not allowed to learn from or take information from and gain an insight. That's dumb. People are like, nope, can't do it because someone else did it. It's like, well, why can't I just try it out, see what it's like? You can, and you should, and you'll learn, and you'll get better at stuff as a result. Reinterpret, recreate, repurpose, reference, explain, learn, grow, and bring more information into the world. But as far as deciding, it's more of like I've taken the time to sort of learn and understand more of it as time has gone on. I've been doing this for several years, and it's just something that you get more used to. Another thing that was helpful for me is I still do, but not as often, but I used to do a lot more rotoscoping, which is where you trace over individual frames of video or film. And that's a good way to start to learn how motion isn't exactly what you imagine it is. And it's also a good confidence booster because you can take something you like, trace over it, and suddenly it's like, oh, I can do this. I think the next one I'm going to do is a almost immediate. I'm going to just do like 1, 2, 3, and then have it settle over here. I'm going to do a big movement now. So it's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make land over here. These are numbered. 6. I think I dropped 9. Indeed I did. I dropped number 9. And I got a little mark on this top bit. Hopefully it didn't. Okay. Oh yeah, the plan was to remove a couple of these guys. I haven't really animated these faces with expressions. It's more a means to have an abstracted animation, have a bit of a personality. And to me, they sort of feel like they're expressive in their movements rather than their faces. I don't know. I'm not a character animator by any means. I think I might make for the most straightforward transition next and just have his face rotate to the next position. I don't know. But I think I'm gonna have this guy go here. I think it might end up going 1, 2. Three? I don't know. I'll figure it out in a second. I'm still figuring these bits out. Something I did not realize is by following it down, it's almost going to spiral down and then up again. Because every face that I'm animating now is below the previous, so it's sort of moving backwards. This one's just moving here. I'm figuring it out as I'm going along. And what works conceptually, and sort of forcing myself to follow the rules that I set out initially. likely gonna forget to fill in portions of this. I think I'm gonna do the solids filled in digitally just because it's gonna save me some time and effort. So get rid of number 2. There's one number 1. A reference point. Almost done with side B of the tape. And it's been like an hour and a half. I'm trying to slowly create multiple tapes, but it's a slow process to make 90 minutes music. It's pretty. If I took like a few days and dedicated like directly to just that, I think I could do it, but I like building things up. This is the first time that has surprised me in that way so far. Back to side A. Fun stuff. Okay, number 8. 10, I'll just make it a start point. And starting again. I think for ease, I don't want to do this. I might do it 1, 2, 3, and then back to the middle. What's the action look like as this is advancing? I kind of have that movement happening already. So how this is going is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should it be like a vroom, vroom, vroom? 1, 2, 3. I think it might be, it's going to be easy to just go poof. It might be kind of a little bit lazy about it and just make this like 3 frames and have it settle at the tail end. So let's actually have this settle in another frame. The last few are just going to be settled in place. This will mark 2/3 of the way being done. Oh, I guess I grabbed the wrong one. I guess it'll settle for a minute there. There. Let's see. Now I'm getting to where it's a little bit muddled, perhaps. Let's just have it go. How do I want to do this? I think I'm just going to do a weird abstraction. I think what I have to do is sort of have this move as it moves. So like, as this is turning this way, this figure is turning down, physically the outside of it is turning this way, the interior is moving otherwise. Oh, let me check the front door. Be right back. Alright. My desk arrived. I'll put that together later. Okay. See that? Moved it inside and got a little little bit out of breath as a result. I get to take some liberties with this motion at this point because I can't like clearly illustrate what's happening behind here. Hello, Eileen. My camera's working more consistently this time, though I am doing a bit more leaning into it. Frame rate's okay, which isn't so concerning for what I'm doing. Hope you're doing good, Eileen. And I just got mildly out of breath because I ordered a desk to have a better setup for dedicated stuff for this setup. And as a result, I had to move something kind of heavy. And I haven't been doing all that much exercise recently. We're going to take this frame to just sort of fudge it. I only noticed the frame rate sort of thing when I stood up and looked back and watched what I was doing a bit more. Glad you're doing great. We're getting closer to being done with this. I need number 6. For me, I prefer on paper, but I think it's probably ultimately easier to do it on a tablet just because the mistakes aren't as dire or as you can reverse things a lot more and pull things in and do a variety of stuff digitally that you can't do analog. Especially if you learn analog or on a graphic tablet and get more used to it, it makes a lot more sense. To work on that. Analog? Oh, sorry. Analog is like digital versus analog. Analog means that it's a physical thing, that it exists. So, in your example, paper and is analog, well, tablet is digital. I mostly hear analog versus digital in the realm of art. Like you have analog synths versus digital synths, or analog versus whatever. But so like a record is analog, but a CD is digital because it's reinterpreting data. Film versus digital. Getting closer to being done with this. The tape sound? I don't hear it. I have to turn it off because I have a mic going. So I'm working in silence most of the time. I don't have the speakers turned off, then I get feedback, or an echo, which is what feedback is, but at a slower pace. So I just have the tape running, and I can hear it if I turn off the mic, or I can turn on the tape sound, but I'll have an echo because the mic will pick up the output, and then there's like a slight delay there. Maybe it'll be feedback. I think it would just be feedback. Because it wouldn't be pulling from the feed that you're getting. It would be pulling from my local audio. Last one. Or last section. Wait, no. I got two more. My bad. Because I have to go from here to here, and here to here. I just listened to what the audio bit was, and I think it's the kalimba with the delay, which makes it even more of that. It's something of a performance. At any time, if you're streaming, you're performing in some way, shape, or form, because you have an audience and you're putting something out there. So you can build up elements. I've been looking at other streamers and stuff and seeing how different folks behave on Twitch and what they do, and there's a lot of performance in different ways. There's people who create personas who are acting less like themselves and more like a caricature. There are people who put on costumes or makeup as an element of the performance and things of that nature. I don't know, let me look up Eve's time. I have a blank spot for some stuff. Eve's line. A French man. Oh, he did all those paintings. He liked blue. I've seen his work before. I sometimes have a blank spot for knowing and remembering art and artists, and sometimes I know others. I think I'm gonna try and do here is actually have this sort of do like a weird twist. Because to get from this form to that form is a little bit awkward. I think he's famous internationally. I just saw that he was French, and I remember that you're in France. And I was like, there you go. That'll do it. There are definitely artists that are better known in different spaces. Locally and such. There's a number of French artists that I know. It just depends. Let's pull this one off. And this one in here. So I can see a little bit better. Concept was, this is going up here. Let me add some new ink, just a little bit, so that the it's a little thinner. Since I've been working on stuff for a little over 2 hours, it means that the ink has thickened up a bit. Not terribly, but enough to be noticeable. Since it's just been sitting out here. It's also winter, and the heat's on, so the air is a bit more dry. This is a section that's a bit muddled. I think I could conceptually leave this be for that frame, coming for the next guy. Just sort of be like, you didn't see it happen, but it settled. So that's 3, 4, 5. Last movement, add it, stretching up this way. So let's just have this a bit down here. Just trying to dry out these sections before I put another frame on top of it. Okay. For this one, because there's a lot of small pieces, I'm probably just going to fill in the solid areas with the... do it digitally, do it on my computer, just because it's annoying with the number of spaces, and inevitably I forget stuff. I might actually sort of... So far what I've done is have things fall on... No, I have to. I can't break that. That's why. Okay. My bad. I was thinking about trying something, but I would have had to have done it earlier. So as this goes, it's just settled for a moment. But I will fill them in black later. Oh. I'm glad I wasn't paying close attention to that. It's when I'm watching it that I have more issues. Final bit. Okay, so here we go. Frame number 1. likely to forget this, so I'm just going to fill it in now. Get away with that, just me and that. It's not a, or it's a new project. I've done, so it's blind contour drawings is what I'm doing. Mostly it's a way to engage with the audience and provide that and explore that, but also to try and push people to check out stuff on Twitch as I do Twitch things. But blind contour drawing is a drawing where a contour drawing is drawing the lines of an object rather than the shading object. You're following the contours, the outlines. A blind contour drawing is doing that while not looking at it, typically without lifting up your pencil or pen or whatever you're writing with. And so it's a quick sketch exploration sort of thing, where you're doing a portrait, but it's not a particularly accurate portrait. It's more like an exercise. And so, if people send me an image of themselves or like a pet or something, I'll on live take that image and create a blind contour drawing of it, and then send a copy of it, a digital copy, so that you can have fun with it on your own. Do what you want with it. But I'm trying to compile some images. Right now I think I have like maybe 10 or so, and then just do blind contour stuff. It's fun to do. You can send a picture of your cat or whatever. I've done some cats in the past. It's not as easy to discern one cat from the next because I'm not as good at drawing cats, and also a lot of the identifying factors of cats, they're the pattern of their fur. You also don't have to send anything if you don't want to. It's just a thing to do. If you'd like. No obligation at all. You're gonna send a picture? Ideally, nothing explicit. But I guess if I'm, well, I can't show it on Twitch, but if I'm just drawing something based on something remotely explicit, then I can maybe get away with it. Let's pull this up. Just curious. Sorry, Zalek. Apologies. You know Twitch better than me. They crack down on anything explicit. No nudity. No noodles. No beans. I was talking with a friend earlier, texting, and I said frozen beans instead of cool beans, and he was like, absolutely frigid legumes, and it's hard to follow up on that and expand more on euphemisms around beans and being cold without getting into testicles. So I ended up with the Sub-Zero seeds or something. I forget. It got approximately one step closer than what he had said as far as being testicle adjacent. I hope that this animates well. It's spending some time on it, but it's like still something that I don't know if it's gonna be a little jerky or not. It might be because it's like we'll see. We'll find out. At the very least, it's interesting and it's a different approach. Not a terribly different, but it's a little different than what I've done in the past, and so figuring it out. Getting closer. Scanning time. Over there. These guys in order. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My camera stayed on today so far, which is nice. Yes. So I can get this a little bit tighter. Shot there. Okay, got distracted. Okay, image capture, plug in the scanner. Scanner's got power. Should be good. Let's go silence. Let's copy this. Location. Jump up to my designs folder. Bring that down. Today's the 13th. Copy that. Create that folder. New folder within there. Another one. Underscore Blockheads grid. Scans. Now, there's anything here to choose that, guys. Blockade. Scans. Today's the 13th. Let's scan that guy. Now the next one. powerful? Find out in just a minute. Won't take too long to scan, and then take even less time to organize. It'll take a minute to fill in the solids because it's 10 frames as opposed to just one still with a number of blockheads, but should still work fine. Number 7. Number 9. It's actually scanning number 8, but I just picked up number 9. Now we'll be scanning number 9. Scanning number 9. File there. Last scan. Loading slow. My computer is doing a lot now that it's got the additional capture of the HD coming through this way. And I think it's making it run a little slow once I get like several stages into things. It would probably be expedited if I were to isolate my Twitch stream, but I feel like I need to at least observe it. So today is 01-13-2021 animation Blockheads grid 10 frames, 1 sketch. That turned out time-wise to be an appropriate amount of time to spend drawing that. Okay, so let's move that to the side and do an initial crop just because I feel like it'll behave a little bit better if I do a preemptive downsizing a little bit. Let's give it a little bit of space so that I can readjust it once, and let's make this a cool 2000. Give it a moment. Frame animation, make frames from layers. For the moment, just doing that. Okay, I'm gonna make it so you can watch this as an animated GIF running. I'm gonna actually make this S6 and change the size to just be 1000. Save this out so you can view it as I'm working on these other elements. So let's pull this down to just like 8. I don't need that many. And we're going to switch this to selective. Selective does better with large areas of white. Save this. On to State Modified, Live Designs, 115. Jump in here just to get the name without having to copy stuff. Outline.gif. Ooh, I've got too much stuff running. Well, minimize all that. Ah. I'll zoom this out. Looks a little bit more interesting. Oh yeah, image. Browse and switch out this bad boy. I think this is more visually compelling if you follow the pattern, follow the direction of things, which might be a little bit easier to do once I fill things in. Okay, now we're going to go in and make this a bit larger. And that's not what I want to do. I want to go here, fill in some solids. This a little smaller. Fill that in. That does not connect here. Next one. Getting closer. Almost done. Cracks down it. Cool. 1000 square. Save it out. Get. Now let's. You know what? I'm just gonna copy, paste, duplicate. Browse, filled, and I got one where I missed it. I missed a number of them on here. Missed some lips. Let's look back through. Do another overview that I didn't miss any. I think it was just that one frame I must have gotten distracted. Okay, let's say this out a second time. Filled 2. Now let's switch out this image. So now the lips are filled. And there you go. All that happening visually. Let's turn off this window catcher. So, I'm going to take a moment, pull up Twitch. So, this animation was done in sort of, I'll go through the spiel of it. Got distracted. Move this guy up here. Let's keep selecting that. What am I even selecting? Something. And this guy over here. And this guy. I don't like that. Make this guy a little smaller. I don't even know what I'm selecting. Oh, manual transition slide. That was me testing the thing. Okay, so top right, you have the outline version, which is what I animated. From the beginning point, what I have is this grid, because I wanted to mess with having one move to the next, to the next, to the next, and then I went through, and first one that I animated was I took this guy and animated it moving down here. So that's the one that's most on top, and you can sort of and this guy is hard to do. You can see that when it's coming up, it's behind, and then it's moving forward. That's because that's the first one that I animated, was this guy over here. And it animates down to this position, and then it stretches across here. So that's on top, and then from there, it twists over here. And then there, it jumps down here. And you can see the layering if you're looking closely, or if you have the opportunity to look at it as individual stills. So this one's on top, then this one, then this one, and this one, and that one, and it moves on down. So it comes down here, and then it pushes up to this middle one here, and then the fastest moving action is actually this guy popping on down to the bottom left. You can see that it's not the clearest visually in the final animation because it's moving quickly and it's obscured by other squares. And then this guy rotates over here. Up here it does a... Because this center space is the most active space of it all, it's the area that's most obscured at any given time. And so when this guy is moving up to returning to this upper left section, he's just covered for a large portion of it, which means that you can just sort of ignore it and then have it settle at the tail end. Do I not have frame number 10 in here? Is it in here? Yeah. And then everything settles back in. But I did this in one animation, two animation, three, and then layered it and made it more complex over time. And that's what you see on screen right there. This is so disoriented. And then took these outlines, brought them into Photoshop, and that's what you can see up here. It's just the outlines, and then I filled in the solids because I was not excited about doing that physically, so I did it digitally in that guy. And now you have a grid that potentially you could offset like on a grid sort of form. I might mess with it. You'd be able to see the changes in each of the spots, but it's potentially module. Potentially able to be shifted around in different ways. I'm just putting this away before I get too sidetracked, because I want to put together my desk after I end some stuff here. But I also have to deal with some files and stuff. So, let that settle down sound-wise, and come back to Twitch here so I can go through Spiel. If you want to buy this design or similar designs on shirts and such, you can go to traceloops.com/store. If you want to ship something not based in the United States, outside the United States, there's no, on the site, there's not a native way to do that, but I can work with you to get that to you. All you have to do is email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. If you want to watch this stream or previous streams on your own with your own bit of control to jump around, I upload them to YouTube after I broadcast, which means that you can find them here, youtube.com/traceloops. If you want to follow me on social platforms, I've got an Instagram, instagram.com/traceloops, as well. TPPS, as well as a TikTok, tiktok.com/@traceloops. Feel free to ask any questions as stuff's coming around or going around in different spaces and such. If you have any questions right now, throw them out. Otherwise, I'll plan on heading out in the very near future, and I'll do a quick thing saying you can submit. Heck yeah, let's transform. Reset transform. And then scale this down. So here's my little thing for blind contours that I'm going to be doing. Blind contours are drawing exercise that are fun to do and pretty immediately rewarding and interesting, and sort of take you out of the headspace of constriction things. So I'm planning on doing live next Wednesday, so a week from today, starting at 3 p.m. where you can submit photos to me and I will do blind contours of them. I'm just trying to get a bunch and sort of build some attention for the stream here. I'll do the blind contours and then I'll send you a file of the final scan. If you do send me a photo, please have it be of yourself or like a pet, but if you want it to be of someone other than yourself, get their permission before you send it to me. I'll assume that you have permission based on the fact that you submit it to me. Anything that you send to me, I will use in my Twitch stream as well as my Instagram stories, but I won't upload that live to YouTube because I don't want to have a permanent thing anywhere that is of other people's faces. So here's a couple other examples. These are from my Instagram. I was testing my manual slide thing. So you already know the Twitch link because you're here, but if you want to submit something to me and you follow me on Instagram, you can send it there, or you can also email me, which is that aforementioned email, traceloops@traceloops.com. If you're watching this on YouTube later and you want to submit it within the time period, I'll do a cutoff of probably the 19th, and then just so I can compile everything and organize it before I go streaming. Thank you all for watching. I'll plan on being back tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be doing a still of some kind because I can't commit as much time to it because I've got some family dinner planned thing. That's Thursdays for you, and then Saturdays as well. But Friday I'll plan on tentatively doing another animation of some kind. I'm trying to settle into something or just explore some other works, maybe look at walk cycles, I don't know. But thank you all for watching. Plan on being back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for a shorter stream that might last between 1 and 2 hours as opposed to 3 to 4. Alright, adios. Be back tomorrow.